Hello, DrawClass, Draw patrons, class patrons. Don't like that one. Drawing class patrons. I like that one better. Hey, it's me. It's me. It's me. And then it's me. I'm back. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my class. We're drawing hair. I don't know if I'm the expert on hair on this team, but you know, I saw it requested a lot. So I'm gonna do it. I sure am. How's everybody doing on this Friday? Just January 30th. Friday? So says my big old calendar. There it is. I hope everyone's doing well. I hope everyone is good. Going to give some people some time to get in. Maybe I'm going to alert the masses on this. All right, ready? Are we ready for this? Hey, is this where this goes? Draw. You know what? I'm just gonna put everyone. How about that? Everyone. It's draw class time. Let's draw some hair. If you're in the tier, get on in here. Here. Thank you. There we go. That's the kind of quality you can only expect from me. It's a wonderful pun. I'm gonna wait for those people to come on in, maybe a little bit. Now that they've been alerted. I need a tissue immediately. Did I bring one? No. Do I want to get one? Maybe. Maybe I should. Maybe I should. I'm gonna go get one. I'll be right back. My tissue box is like right over here. It's this cold, dry air. It's getting to me. Excuse me. I hope everyone's ready to draw some hair. Ask me some questions about hair. Good. I got a lot of good jokes, reactions to my DrawClass announcement. We'll give it another 2 minutes. We'll give it another 2 minutes of waiting. We're just gonna be drawing hair. We'll be drawing hair up in hair. I already said that for the announcement. That's rough. That's rough. I only got so many hair puns. I'm pretty tired. I don't know how many more hair puns I got. We're gonna have to comb through the pun books. Pun number 2. Pun number 2. No one leave, please. No one leave, please. The jokes will end at some point, I promise. Whee! I see some people in chat. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for being here. I was very tempted to say the pun again, but I resisted. I hope you're proud of me. Alright. It's 5 minutes after. I'm going to start on this class. We're going to talk about hair. We're gonna talk about hair time. We're gonna talk about hair. I have like a few tips that I'll give people, but I basically wanted to break down how I think of hair when I'm trying to, draw it for myself. So I'm gonna start I'm gonna try and cover different bases here, like traditional or how you can shortcut it or how you can stylize it. So we're gonna start more traditional, and then we'll it's all kind of entangled, much like hair. It's pun number 3. Let's get going. So, what to consider when drawing hair? On time enjoyer? Nice. Thank you, Kirby Calm. Thank you. Here's what I consider when drawing hair. I feel like hair, much like backgrounds, gets overwhelming because people think about the whole thing all at once. You think about each individual strand. And on backgrounds, you're thinking about every tree, every background. Sorry, I just discovered my cat's here. And she's been here the whole time. Hi, Olive. I feel like people often think about all of the strands of hair at once. And you gotta remember, we're making art, not real hair. So you gotta cheat it. Okay? You don't have to draw each strand of hair. You have to trust your audience a little bit to go with you. If there's a general shape that's hair-esque, that's accurately depicting the style of hair that you're going for, then you don't need to draw so many individual things to make that readable. And we'll get into that as we go. So you want to start... Oh my god. Sorry, my cat's coming up here. Oh no, she ran away. Never mind. Because I moved a can out of her way to make it easier for her. You want to start broad. Like a broad, basic building shape. And then you kind of want to think about the feeling or the vibe, the flow of the hair. And I'll get into that as we go. This class is mostly going to be drawing from reference because, as per usual, I think that the best way to learn is to draw from reference, and the more you draw from reference, the more you will start naturally shortcutting something, like photograph reference, because then you learn what's working for you and what's not. And then you really get to learn from the source how the thing moves and works and things like that, and how to make it your own. But to start off, there's some basic building blocks. Whoop. What the heck? Oh, right. So I drew some basic head shapes. I haven't drawn in months. I've been doing commissions and that's it. My god, my cat's here. And unfortunately she's wearing her cone, so she's gonna... Come on. There you go. So I'm far away from the computer. Anyway. Ooh, first draw class. Welcome. Feel like commissions is also drawing. Yeah, but I'm not drawing nearly as much as I used to. So I'm a little out of practice. Miss Olive is here. Miss Olive still looks like this because she won't stop licking her belly. So I started off with some basic head drawings. This one looks a little wonky, but whatever, we're not here for face drawing. So let's start off with a sort of baseline hairline. There's a lot of things that like is like a considered the most like standard thing, and that they use the word like standard in art, you know. It's just kind of like the baseline in which you measure things. So if you're like, oh, someone has like a long forehead, it's because these baselines are changed, right? So when I'm talking about baseline, I'm just talking about like the most basic measurement. So for the purposes of this class, we are often going to use this as a baseline, and then if, you know, whoever we're drawing doesn't fit or has, you know, a shorter or a longer forehead, or, you know, whatever is different, maybe they have a flatter back of the head, it's, you know, we're just going with it. But this is when you want to draw like the face rune, the nose, oh my god, Olive girl, the nose is like 1/4 up the circle, and your hairline is 1/4 down the circle or something. I cheat it. Because I draw my faces a little longer. But anyway, this is like the baseline that we use, right? So when you're thinking about hair, you can kind of break that into 4 different sections. You have this front where you have the bangs. I don't have bangs right now, really. But you can see it's like there's this part that naturally falls forward. Then you have the part that's like one side versus the other, and then the back. Of course, things like hair swirls or where a part is, those shapes change, but you can usually think about hair in those basic building blocks. So for the purposes of this class, you know, I just drew it in these. And I think it's helpful to keep those in mind, because often when you're like drawing some hair, Olive, I really wish you weren't in my lap, but you're purring a lot and I feel bad about kicking you out. This is not productive. I think like when people draw hair, you know, there's like, for like a shorter haircut where it's shorter here and longer here, you know, you can think of like, oh, this is where like the bangs would be. There's some parts that are like, you know, maybe sticking up here. And it's because it'll like stick up here, or, you know, here's the bangs and then like the hair swirl is here, you know. But you generally want to keep in mind these shapes so that you can build off of them. And, you know, like if his part's on the side, like I drew here, this, obviously this orange section would be a little longer, but then this purple section would still be here. So that's like dictating kind of the flow of the hair. Olive keeps hitting me really hard with her tail. I don't appreciate it. Olive, your cone is making this difficult. I don't know why I felt the need to get into this, but I started drawing in some like balding hairlines because I think they're really interesting, and, you know, a good portion of the population has them. And I feel like they don't get represented enough in art, blah, blah, blah. But also people get confused about balding hairlines sometimes, but it's just like, this is like a receding hairline. So you start with this, you know, again, I'm using this blue base that I drew from earlier. So you can, well, yeah. Like here, you know, this one. It's basically just, you start from that hairline and then you push like back. So if you have like, I mean, the whole thing can recede at once, or you can go, you know, in like a chunk. Someone just brought up something. Please remind me of that at the end of the class, because then I'll get into it. It's about the when I draw hair, I'm really shapes, and I feel like my biggest struggle is when I've gotten a shape down from one angle and then another. Yeah, we'll get into that. And it's kind of like, again, the sort of blocking. I think like you have to break it down into the block. Like you have to think about where that chunk is coming from, or what the purpose of that silhouette is, or, you know, like The Simpsons have it so that it's like just kind of the same shape no matter what angle, you know, or like they have to figure out like the top angle. So you have to think about where those parts originate from, like what part of these sections is it coming from, you know? So I will get into that. That's a really good point. I didn't even think to include that here, but I'll try to leave like a chunk of time at the end of class to sort of go over it. But I would like to teach how to look at drawing reference to then bring that over to like how you study it, and then how you would like internalize that and break it down for yourself. There's also balding patches that start back here and then grow out from there. There's also the monk thing. Okay. So I got just so many different references of hair, and I thought I would just break it down. I'm going to, for the purposes of time, I'm going to trace the faces, and then I'm going to bring that over, and then I'm going to draw from the reference that hair so that we can look at it. And I tried to get different lengths, different textures, different styles, things like that. Obviously, I can't draw every style or texture that's out there. This is, again, just, I feel like my goal was to try to get as many different kinds of things that your brain would have to like break down and you would have to look at and know how to do. So, and I'm going by length, by the way. So we start off with the buzz. Let's go with like this blue. So let's just, this is like where the head roughly is. This guy has really cool cheekbones. And then his ear. And then his jaw is probably like that. And short hair is hard to shortcut sometimes because you are trying to give very specific information with very little. He's very handsome. Yes. Yes. So, you know what? Let me get the nose in there too, because I feel like that's helpful. For me, like the nose is sort of a guiding light of the face. Let's just... There we go. Why not? Let's get the eyes. Okay. So, like I said, the hairline follows this kind of ridge. People with a rounder head, like I have, you know, a rounder head. There are people with even rounder heads, like I think Reese Witherspoon's a good example. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. There's some celebrity that has a really rounded forehead, and then her hairline starts like a little higher than mine. But again, okay, so this guy has, let me get a different color here. Let me go with whatever, this red. So you want to break it down into a shape, into just a basic shape. So you have sort of this temple area. This temple area, it usually sits around the temple, goes down into the sideburns. There we go. And then it goes up. You have like sort of the peak here. And that's why it's good to draw like the face rune, because some people, I mean, you know, for some people they have more of a widow's peak, some people don't, but a lot of the times it points at least a little bit, especially with just like the curve of the head, you know. So good to draw the middle here. Okay, and you can see that while it is a very short haircut, it's still like this is where the head is, but it's still sticking up a bit. And this is this area. So there is some length on it. There's some thickness. Okay, and then because it's shaved with no real fade that I can see, you have a little bit of thickness from the head. So that's where you want to start off, is just like a basic shape. And then let's lower the opacity on this. If you were to, there's a few different ways that you can show hair texture. You could use a brush that I was hoping that Jacob would have Photoshop open, because there's tools on there that I know and that that we all have, but he does not. But I like a pencil I can use. That's not helpful. All right, whatever. We'll make do. But you can use, like, basically you can shade, right? You can do a sort of and again, I'm not using, like, if I were to use a pencil, I would use the side. So this is spraying out a little bit more. You're gonna have to bear with me. We want to keep it in that shape, right? And if you want to show some texture, because unless you're doing photorealism, you don't have to be drawing each individual hair strand. You can just go in and pull out some, you know, just do some like push and pull. And you, like, especially on a shaved head, you have some that's too much. You can see the roots of the hair, right? So again, let's do this. We want to keep it, we want to start off clean, basic shape. And then you can go in, bring this down even more, or you know what, let's get rid of it now that we have our basic shape. And you can go in, and I like to do this area, this temple area, because it usually is very distinct, especially on much shorter hair. You can really see where the hair comes in. And because the hair is like pretty short, you want to keep these lines pretty short. And this you can see is clean because of the direction that the hair is growing. And then again, come in here, and then you see that it's tapering. Like, it's not, so you can go a little longer on each one. And you can go, and you can do some pushing and pulling. You just really want to be looking at your reference, not drawing what you know, but what you can see. Because it's very easy to look at this and say it's hair, it's complicated, there's a lot going on here. But you want, again, unless you're doing photorealism, you want the reader to understand, and you can trust your viewer to understand enough, you know, but you can't be drawing each individual strand, because that also gets visually very confusing. So that's one way that you can draw straight, shorter hair. You know, you can go, you know, how many, you can go in and do as much detail as you want. You know, maybe it's good to sort of like come in. But if you're doing a short hair like this, don't cut into the scalp shape, because you need to keep that, because it's very important to the general shape of the hair. Alternatively, what you can do if you don't want to do the shading method, is that you can just do like an implication here. Maybe you want to do just, you know, like this, like here you go. You can just sort of imply this shape. Let's bring back this scalp shape. Okay, so here you go. And you just want enough information where, because eyes will naturally fill in a line, right? You ever have those like connect the dots and you've done it without even drawing it? And then again, you can come in and draw like a few strands here or there. Okay, we'll do this. We'll get rid of this shape. And, you know, if your hair is darker, I mean, this is pretty dark here. If your hair is darker, you can make the lines thicker. You can add more. You can make them longer. Because what's important is where you've stopped the hair, you know? And again, you can see this sort of sectioning that we talked about, right? So we have 1, 2, 3. What? Oh God, that's right. I'm stupid. I'm in Clip Studio. Oh, no. Okay. Does that make sense? And then like if you have the shaded area and you want it to be more shaded, again, you can combine what we just talked about. Here we have a push and a pull here. So we'll start off with this basic shape. Let's just put in some shapes like this. Then we're gonna come in, I'm gonna make sure they're nice and tight, because what we know about hair and what we're seeing with this hair is that, you know, there's a million follicles, but it sits on top of each other. So you just want to make sure that this, because you can see like more of a scalp here, that's because of the head rotation, which is important with buzz cuts. Let's just tidy up the silhouette a little bit. And I'm drawing these really fast, so they're not going to be the neatest, but I'm trying to just give everyone a general impression of, you know, how you would do these things. So might not look the best in this class, but because I only got so much time. And I want to make sure I get to people's questions. So you get the idea that it's a buzz cut. So let's move on to the next one. I'm going to delete these. I have this guy's cool look. What was I used like a blue for the other guy. Okay. So let's, again, we're gonna, oops. Let's follow his head shape like this. Okay. Okay. All right. So then here's his ear. That's his eye line. Okay. Cool. All right. Like I said, I'm going to be tracing the faces just because this class isn't about faces. It's about hair. Again, another beautiful model. All right. So let's talk about this hair. Slightly longer, generally the same principle. But you don't see so much of his scalp, right? You see basically hardly any. So again, we're following that hairline, or that silhouette that we had, that basic shape. Hi, Olive. Just going to include his beard because it's a cool shape. I like beards. I think they add some cool contrast to a face. This one's like lower. Okay. This one's like pretty up there. Okay. There we go. All right. Sorry, my cat just screamed in the corner and I don't know why. Olive makes this meow that makes me laugh every time, which is just wow. Pretty good. All right, so hair goes around the neck here, and then again, basic shapes. We're starting off with the basic shape. Goes around. We want to go, this is a round shape, so it starts a little bit lower here. And there we go. Now this guy has this person has very well sculpted hair. Again, it's like very tight. So, but it's tight and it's like very tight little curls. So, am I on the right layer? Yeah, okay. Let me lower this even more. Okay. So we want to keep this shape round and soft and implied to start off with, right? And then we'll go in and we'll make more details as we go. But okay, we got, and this is a very clean curve. That is such cool hair. Okay. Now here you can see these little strands. You have to think about like what's jumping out at you. I have to close the door partially. You have to think about what's jumping out at you about the hair that's making this hair distinct. And to me, this hair, the thing that's making it distinct is the really sculpted shape and the really beautiful texture, right? And so not a lot of flyaways, again, very distinct shape. Nothing is really that loose. So again, unless you're doing photorealism, of course you would start from here and then build. But it's like it's very tight, right? So we want to keep it nice and tight. This shape is even like really clean. And you don't need to repeat, again, you can trust your reader, you know. You can make it, you can make some areas not as detailed because you already got the impression from what you were doing with the rest of it. Now here, it's getting a little looser because it's getting closer to the skin, right? And then here we go. Again, really clean shape. So here you go. So there is sort of that basic building block, like I said, right? So let's do this. You don't need that scalp line anymore. So then, if you want to add more detail, so this guy obviously has darker hair. Let's fill in some of these gaps, because I never know what Clip Studio will fill in and what it won't, although it does a really good job. Okay, let's try this. Wow. Nope. All right, let's try this. Yeah. How about that? Nope. Back. Let's just... Oh, because the ear. Because it's not on the same layer. Alright, I don't know anymore. Ah! Let's try this. Where's this? Where? Oh, because I'm... Y'all, I'm a dingus. Other layers. There we go. Okay. Mamma mia. I forgot that I went on to another layer. Oh my. Okay. So, again, you want to look at the texture of the hair. You want to see what it's looking like. Not what you know, what you are seeing. Also, I'm sorry about the crazy colors. I'm using these crazy colors so that it's a little bit easier to read, hopefully, but you let me know if it's too much or it's not working. So this is like implying that you're drawing just in black and white. I could also go over, if you guys want, how to add color, but you know, again, I'm just seeing some nice highlighted parts. Maybe we want to come in here, and as we're seeing those, where those roots are forming, where it's growing out of the hair, the head, sorry. We just want to push and pull these shapes to add some highlights here. You can even we wanted to do like lighter tone. Just because the light seems like it's going in sort of like a that direction, you know, as we can tell by heavier shadows here. It looks like I gave him blush and a crown, go off, and then the light is, you know, hitting here. So you want to make sure that that's reading if you're drawing from the reference, but it's also something to keep in mind when you're drawing on your own. So like I said, we're not aiming to draw the whole head of hair. We're looking for people to understand what our goal is here. We're looking for it to be legible, for the texture of the hair to be understood. Again, just, you know, some pushing, some pulling. We want the highlights to be here. We want some of that darker hair to come through so that people get that depth. And, you know, you get smaller and fewer as we go down because there's not as many highlights. And his hair, again, has those tight, bouncy texture to it. So we want to represent what we're seeing here, which is this, like, you know, that motion. And again, this is all shadow, so we won't touch that. We'll let that be entirely in shadow. It helps lend to the shape. Does that make sense? I should get rid of all of this so people can see the reference. Sorry. There you go. So you see what I mean? You have to draw what you're seeing, not what you're thinking or what you know. Okay? You want to imply this hair shape. And then, you know, with here, it gets a little thinner. So we would follow, like, what, again, what is what are these shapes doing? They're sort of like curving and having these like wonderful flowing shapes to it, you know? And then it gets a little thinner on one side and then goes back to, it's one continual, you know, beard shape. And then you have this, like, you know, darker section. And again, we have that those rounded shapes that follow the jawline. I also want to say that I don't know who anyone is that I've taken the photos of. I didn't take the photos. I took them off the internet. I googled hairstyles of different kinds. And this is what was given to me. But again, tried to get a good sampling. Yeah, so you draw from reference. You can, you know, I would try aiming for as realistic as possible. And then in doing so, you will find your own shortcuts and you have to play around to see what is working for you and what isn't. You have to see you know, you're like, oh, I drew it with too many loose strands, so now this person looks maybe a little scragglier than I was hoping. You know, I should cut down on this, that, or the other thing. How do I make it like a bigger chunk? It's just finding out how it works for your style and your level of detail, you know? So, okay. I'm no expert in hair, but I do like drawing it. A little darker in the corners. But yeah. There you go. And then again, you can go in. We see some, you know, very few highlights because it's a little shorter here. And I feel like I'm doing too many little scratches, basically. So let's just keep it basic. Let's do fewer. Let's try doing fewer of them. Yeah. And you want to think about where that light's going to be hitting. So you know that a chin typically juts out a little bit more. And you can see that it does on this guy. So the light will probably hit it just at least a little bit. So maybe focus on, like, if you're doing, if you're representing less information, make sure that the information you're presenting is important and is there for a reason. Oh, you guys can't see the chin area anyway. Okay, so that's my thought. So like if you have a highlight but you're not doing that much information because you're doing very blocky hair, make sure that highlight is not just there because you feel like it should be. Have it be there for a purpose. Okay. Is that what I wanted to do? What did I save with this guy? Okay, I saved the hair. I'll save this too. Okay. So next hair. Here you go. Hair you go. I'm gonna get so many complaints from people saying that I'm saying here you go too much. Here she goes. Here she goes again. You can see a little bit of the scalp here, so his head's going back. Okay, so I chose this because it is varying lengths throughout it, and we haven't really covered that yet. Yep. Wee. And the ear. Okay. Not necessary. I just like drawing that little part of the neck. Okay. I didn't draw his mouth. All right. So this hair shape is very much 3 sections, right? Or 4 sections, whatever. Okay. So we have again 1 section, 2 section, 3 section, and then this back part. So there we go. Something just honked downstairs. I cannot imagine what that was. Don't mind me. I need the eye. Here we go. Okay. So this guy has sort of a shorter forehead here. So always falls into this section. So we do like a, there we go, a wider sideburn up, and then it curls around and down. It has a fade, and then the bottom of the hair starts just around here. And let's, again, basic shapes, because there's a lot going on with this hair. Oh, also, I started off with darker hair because to me it's easier, and then I do have like a lighter hair towards the end of the examples. So basic shapes. Again, it's following the basic shape of the skull here. Yeah. And then it does like this. Okay. So now let's look at what this hair is doing. The part is here. So let's draw that out. Now he has, oh, oops, I usually do this on another layer. Let's drop this down to about there. Let's do this. So the guy has wavy hair. So we want to get those curvy shapes here. And then obviously your hair gets less curvy as it gets shorter. It doesn't have much to work with. Okay. Now the hair is going, here's like the part, and now it's going like this. You want to think, I forgot to mention this earlier, but you want to think of hair like ribbons, or some people prefer to do that, right? So here's like a ribbon twisting in shape, right? So you want to see the direction that it's moving in. So if you are drawing hair that has more distinctive chunks, and we'll go over this again later, you can start off by having, like, you know, let's say this strand that's going around. I keep pressing the wrong button. Here we go. It's a different shortcut that I'm used to. So you can draw sort of like the guiding Olive, just open the door. You can draw sort of like your guiding line. Let me do that on the low opacity one, right? Like if you have really distinct hair chunks that are going and that are, you know, moving very specifically. And then this is like, and we have these like loose ones that are kind of going. Again, unless you're doing photorealism, it doesn't have to be exact. You want to get sort of the feeling of the hair. So now when you do draw the hair, you can say, okay, like there's this thinner bit and there's like a, oh boy, my cat's here. Just knocking things off my desk, or Jacob's desk. Yeah, cat. Oh, you can see her going. Olive, I don't need you in my lap right now. No, no, no. It's pretty solid from that hairline. So again, he has darker hair. I'm going to work like this. Olive, you don't need to go behind the monitor, girl. Just go into your box. Thank you. Okay. So then, where this gets thinner, you want to get a little smaller. And again, we'll do that sort of like push and pull. And we can... Oh, you can open the door to my closet, but not into the room. Cats, am I right? And we want to show, this guy has longer hair, so where the scalp line is, we need to add that thickness. And you see he has longer hair, one, because of the strands are coming off of it, but two, because of the distance. So if you wanted to, you could put that solid chunk in and then go break it up with some looser strands, right? We want to show some of that buzz, where it's a little straighter. Investigating every closet. And then, you know, we're still following the direction the hair is going in. We're just making it nice and short. Well, eventually there's no hair. And we'll pull out some highlights. Let me do... Oops, there we go. Let me pull out this color. So let's, again, obviously with this light, you can see it's coming in here. So there's not too many highlights, but there's enough so that you can see where the hair is originating from. And this is actually a pretty good example to show how you would make it like a basic shape. And this hair like overlaps a lot, so you want to break it up because his hair is still shorter. And it's got a lot of movement and texture to it. Wow! And you can, if you feel like one chunk is too much, it's overpowering, it's hair, you can do layers. Do highlights here. So you see what I'm getting at. Now, if you were to like make this really like a stylized, maybe more anime-esque or cartoon-esque, you would do, you could, this'll, okay. We got this. You want to just look again at what it's doing. I can't be responsible for Olive. you just want to make the silhouette really clear. And if you're translating this to like a turnaround, at least you know, here's the break, here's, you know, shape 1, here's 2, and then there's 3. So this is probably like a sort of mohawk thing, you know. And then it's giving sort of... Okay. No! I'm fine. I'm fine. There we go. Then you can just shortcut it with some little sketchy lines. But yeah, if you were to then do like a turnaround of him, you could then have, let me hide the reference for a second. You could then have, let's say, you know, basic head shape. His head's pretty square. Blah, blah, blah. But then, you know, the hair is sectioned off on the side. And there's the little peak, right? And we know because of this sort of middle section in the back, we know it's probably going to be longer here. Sorry, I got like 6 million notifications that Jacob was here. Thank you, house. It just kept being like, hey, you know Jacob's home? Like, yeah, thank you. And maybe it's like, we haven't seen the other side of the head. Maybe it's short here. You know, you got the ear here, whatever. Maybe it's, follow that line here. Cross hatch here. And if you wanted to, I mean, it's not implied here, but for distinct parts, you know, you could always draw in a part to use it as your, like, memo to yourself, you know. Maybe it is longer to one side, but either way, oh my god, my child sounded haunted for a second. It was like echoing. Anyway. But you get that implication from, you know, this breakdown where you could say, where you know it's the parts here, it's moving here. So your sections, so you have longer side, this shorter side, and then the front. The front where it's flopping over the face, hair going to one side. So that's how you can do the turnaround. Next one. Again, get really good. Getting some real nice looking people in this search that I did. Well, I gotta pick it up, huh? But, okay. I don't know who anyone is, but thank you, image search. So. Just for a marker. Oops. Sorry, I'm trying to pick it up because there's an hour down. Okay. Hairline. So I really liked this reference because it's very short on one side and then longer, and I really like these shapes and the included, like, you know, jewelry in it. So let's draw it. So again, recommendation is that you can draw sort of the guiding shape. Once you start getting into each lock, you can draw like the guiding shape. So let's draw the basic shape once again. And you don't see that typical because it's so short. So keeping the skull and scalp in mind, we want to build off of that, obviously. And then we get this curve. I also like because you can see this part in here. And I haven't done one of those yet. Okay. So again, basic shapes. We want to get sort of the basics down, right? And then he's got these two here that go down to about the nostril. This isn't exact, it's just so that we're not thinking about too much information at one time, right? And then they have this one. It actually comes out more. Sorry. There you go. Okay. And then you do still have a little bit of this fade. It's just really tight. Okay. So now let's lower that. So now let's break it down. We have this part here. So let's follow that. You know what, we could even, because the reference image is so dark, let's just go in with, and it's like very shapy, not as shapy as I'm drawing it, damn. Okay. Again, we're just building shapes. We're not getting too precious with it. We're going to do a lot of pushing and pulling with hair. Okay. And the way that I'm doing this is just, you know, if you're drawing digitally, I have the pressure sensitivity on, and I'm just going lighter and darker. But then we're following the basic shape that we've drawn and looking at the reference. It becomes nice and smooth and it has this great shape. Okay. Oh, I also wrote down some references for people of people that when I was looking up, you know, good resources for hair tutorials, I found that these people had pretty comprehensive tutorials of different kinds of hairstyles. So if you want to continue some hair education beyond this class, I recommend going to their channels and looking at what they got. I don't know much about the channels beyond what I saw, but I liked those videos specifically. Okay. I really like this hair because it has some really great shapes and lines here. And I'm sorry that I'm not talking too much because I'm focusing. But we're not worrying so much about the construction of the hair. We're looking at, again, what we can see. Whoops. I'll go back in and do the part. Got rid of it a long time ago, I guess. So, this is thicker. Okay, that tapers down pretty well. Okay. So now we want to go in and we want to put that part back in. And again, doesn't have to be exact. We want to give that information for these two locks. We're going to put in this cool jewelry. Also, I'm sorry if anyone can hear a little baby. Jacob's trying to put him to sleep. And Felix has been teething, so he doesn't really want to go to sleep. So we got this fade going on. And we'll just apply it here. We'll apply it more here because this is where the shadow is. You know. I'll probably do less because it fades really quickly. And then let's go in and we'll pull out some highlights. That's not what I wanted. There it is. There's the other color. Okay. So we'll come in. We'll do... Go away. Come back. So we'll go in and we'll pull in these highlights to really show the shape, because obviously it's like tied up here, so all the hair is getting pushed like this, but we don't even have to know that. We just need to look at the reference we have here, right? There's like a little bit of a highlight here. We're going to keep this rounder because that's what the hair is telling us. This strand is like out in front, so we're gonna let that pop out like that. Yeah, I just thought this reference image was really good for legibility as well, because it is black and white and has really good contrast, and the hair is really well shot, in my opinion. So yeah, again, we're not getting too bogged down. And then if we wanted to, we could go in and we could include some of these little baby hairs if we felt like they were important. We don't have to draw each one, we have to imply them. Okay? I think I'm going to be moving a little bit faster because I have so many images. I'm sorry, but there's just so many different hairstyles to cover. Okay. I think I'm gonna get like more basic with the tutorials, and I'm sorry. But I think I'll just like go straight to tracing. So we have this basic shape goes down. There's a nice divot here. But here, you know, we would draw once again the really nice rounded shapes. We could like go in and we don't have to draw each individual strand of hair. We just want to imply the shape, the texture, and yeah. See? Okay, next. Ah, this guy had really cool hair. Also, just like a really dope nose. I don't know who this person is, but okay, it's like this man is mostly hair. Okay. So again, yeah, fantastic nose. I love this shape. It's so strong. It's really, really cool. Really distinctive. But I like this because it's like a really specific, like, I don't know, length. It's like not something I've seen that much. But it's kind of like, you can see the implied shape here. I guess it is just like a lot longer on this top section and it's going down into it. But yeah, so we can start off nice and chunky here. We just want to show the great movement. And then if we wanted to show some of like the loose strands here, we can do that. But yeah, we just want to give the impression of it, you know? And then you would draw the darker bits, where it's shorter, it's curling onto the neck. See? Don't gotta draw everything, you just gotta draw enough that people understand. And then you can, like I said earlier, come in and see just a few basic highlights. Really shows the flow of everything. And hair, when it comes out of the head, oops, I've been drawing the reverse. Here we go. It goes out, and then the weight of it tends to make it fall. And then with product, or, you know, thicker hair, it can stand on its own. So you can have like, you know, it curves. But that's something to keep in mind when you're shading, is because it is going out and then around or out, and then like you can see it on my hair even, like you see how it's going up and then it's casting its own shadow. So this is typically darker. And we just follow the growth of the hair here. Okay. Next person, again. Rounder forehead. Chop there. So we have this section, this side section of the head, this other section, and we have this front section, right? 1, 2, 3. So falling down. And then what's important here is that it's going over the ear. There we go. So you get the basic shape here. Some of it's going behind the ear, some of it's going in front of the ear, and you can show it going in front of the ear by putting in some highlights. Right? So there you go. And then, you know, again, you can pull out some highlights. Next person. This is very highlight heavy. Again, you have this really great shape. But you see the hair is going out from here. You have this part here. Basic shape. And it's going like that, all right? Like that's how we're going. And that's how we'll do the highlights, and we'll pick out some strands, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I'm going really fast now because, you know, I'm pressed for time. So again, you have the basic shape here. I'm talking about really basic. And then we go in and we want to keep this see they're smaller curves. Okay. See? And then again, you would pull out some of the highlights. I think I might go to the light colored hair now just so I can answer questions. But we know what the general, you know, movement of the hair is from these strands here. So we can repeat those shapes in the highlights. You know, but we don't want it to be like, we want to break it up for some of that shadow that it casts on itself. So it would be, and then it would get less as it goes down because it's casting a shadow on itself. All right, I'm gonna go to light hair, and then I'm going to, whoops. Da-da. Rapid fire for anyone who wants to practice. I had this person, really cool hair. Again, think basic shapes. It has a cool texture to it, so just, you know, I mean, you can shortcut it by doing, you know, like these shapes. These, like, more tubular shapes. Just remember to keep in mind texture while you go. But if you were really to shortcut it, you know, again, think about the basic shapes. Anyway, rapid fire hair challenge for anyone who wants to draw later. Really cool hair, once again. Really cool hair. Also really cool nose, once again. Really beautiful hair. Oh my god, braids. I gotta talk about braids. A lot of people get lost in the weeds with braids. People are thinking about the construction of braids. You don't gotta. Okay? There's a lot of different ways to draw braids. So once again, if we're drawing, let's say this braid. It's coming out, down, and around. Oh, also, when you're drawing braids like this, what you can do is, if you have the basic face shape, right? You have the scalp line. What you want to do is that you can draw, you have like the basic shape, right, of how the hair works here. Then you can draw following the shape of the skull. You can then come in. Oh wait, I gotta draw it this way too. But here we go. You have these, then you give it enough space for a part. Sorry, my son is talking. So you have these sections, right? And then from there, you can draw your sort of basic shapes, and then you build from there, right? But it's kind of like, I don't think these ones, okay, they do have a knot. So you have like this shape, and then it comes like this, and all the hair is being pulled into that braid, right? So something to keep in mind. But braids in general, there's a few shortcuts. Let's start off with your basic shape. Let's say we're doing this braid. Okay? That's the shape of that braid. Now, we make it wider into a noodle. There's a few ways that you can do this. I'm going to show you a few shortcuts. You use whatever works the best for you, okay? You could do C, 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 backward 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 C. And then you can do a zigzag straight down the middle. Okay? And then you connect. Okay? Whoops. I didn't do that one right, but you get what I mean. Okay? Sorry, I'm laughing because my son is making funny noises when he's resisting a nap. You could say he's resisting a rest. Okay, that's one way. Obviously do it cleaner than I did. The way that I usually do it, sorry, I'm getting a message, making sure it's sorry, my mom was very excited because the episode of Law & Order she was just watching went by my old college. Anyway. How do I usually draw braids? It's been a while. Do I usually do it like this? No. No, I don't. I can't remember anymore. I think oh, also some people draw it like, hearts, I believe. Yeah. Some people draw it like... some of this. It's not a shortcut that I do typically. But if you're into that, you can draw it that way. I feel like I usually do... oh yeah, usually do like... that's the way that I do it. I do like a crisscross. There we go. Sorry, it's been a while since I've drawn braids. And then I go like this. There we go. That feels, yeah. That feels right to my brain. So that is how I do braids. And then you get rid of that guiding line you drew, and then it's voila. I hope that's helpful to some people. I know that people get really in the weeds about braids. But here, again, what you could do, I said that I would stop doing individual tutorials for each hair, but, you know, if you're working digitally, you just do the motion that the braid is tied in, which, you know, it's these, you're looking at each individual shape and it's kind of like curving around, right? You can see it from the highlights. So you can do that there, right? And then for each section, you can just bring in the highlight. If you're seeing the full braid, like here, you can do and then you do that zigzag, but you don't touch them because it's hair that's folding in to each other. It's going up and in and up and in and up and in. So you do something like that. Right? Okay. Those are my little handy tips. Again, beautiful hair. I think really good practice hair too, because of the highlights and the shadows here. It's really distinct. It has really clear shapes. It's very shiny. And again, really clear big shapes. So I encourage people to practice with this one. I think it's a great picture to use. And then this, again, big shape, really distinct little shapes in there you can imply. So, all right, lighter hair. Lighter hair can sometimes be more difficult because it's so light, especially dyed hair like this one where you can see like the roots. I would, again, I don't know who this person is. whatever. This guy, I made him a cubist man, whatever. So I would use really thin lines to imply this hair. And again, we talked about buzz cuts earlier, but there are a lot of shapes here. So if you were to make it chunkier and a little more stylized, you know, you can do, you want to just follow the shape of the hair. Again, it's like coming out like that, so. Yeah. It's just, it really is just looking at what makes the hair readable to the viewer. Like this, I feel like already does like a pretty good job, and it's not, I didn't draw each individual hair. You know, like we could do a few more of these. We can even like cut into them so that you see that it's like the roots instead. But yeah. Excuse me. This one I chose because it's kind of like a messy style. Also, I'm sorry that I'm rushing. I just want to be able to get to people's questions. By the way, if you do have questions, please put them in the chat and then I will look at them in a minute. So, basic shape of the hair is this. All the small things. Work sucks. I know. Anyway. This would be another one where you could like block it in and then do a lot of pulling. Okay, next one. This guy's great shape. I recommend practicing with this hair as well. You can see it's doing that thing that I was just talking about of going out. See, it's darker here just because of the shadows. We have this curl here. So, yeah. But I liked it because it was such a clear shape. Okay. Next one. Really cool hair shape. I thought it was very distinct. Practice with it. Again, really distinct shape. Really distinct shapes in the general shape. Really, really cool. I see questions in the chat. I'm flashing these so that people can do some practice. Again, I liked this one because it was like a really interesting shape. And then this is like pretty straight. But yeah, this would be like, you would do a lot of little, or not like a ton, but probably more. more shapes, you know? Just to show sort of the movement. And then you would go in and you would break up this basic shape with what the hair is actually doing. See? And then continue that, obviously. Okay. This one, really cool shape. Really comes out here too, from the base of the skull. Another short hairstyle. This one was fun. It's like messier, so you can add more strands to show that sort of like messy look, but you have to figure out how many strands you want to put in there so it's not overwhelming to the viewer. Again, really big, very cool shape, with especially down here, all of these strands that are coming out. Really good practice shape. This one has a very distinct shape as well, this like flow, you know. Long, straight, flowing hair. And then this one as well, you would be pretty sparse with showing each thing. So I see a question in chat about bangs from the side. They say the thing I always have a hard time with is bangs, but inside profile. I never know what it's supposed to look like from the side, especially if it covers any of the face. Excuse me. So again, depends the kind of hairstyle. So let's draw a side profile head. Right. You have to really consider the planes of the head. Okay. Sorry. Okay. That's good enough. So let's lower this. Okay. So remember that your hair goes up. So we have our sections. Let's draw our sections. I will draw the sections in green. 1, let's give them a side part. Why not? Let's do a middle part. Make it. It doesn't matter. We're drawing bangs. Side part. So here's 1, 2. Sorry, let me label this in a way that makes sense. Okay. So you have to remember the planes of the face and the way that a face curves. I think something that might be helpful is doing this as well. Planes of a head. Planes of a head. This is 1, 2, and then it, you know, curves back around. It's basically like when you're, yeah, whatever. Here's 3. So when you're drawing bangs, let's do this color. So again, if you have shorter bangs, if they're coming in from like, okay, let's do like short bangs. So we're gonna start off with the basic shape, right? If we're doing hair, that's like, let's do a bowl cut. That's fun. That's got bangs. Right? And then it's pretty close to the scalp. So your hair, again, remember, comes out of your head, grows out, and it still has some resistance, and then goes around. Out, and then it bends down. So it's going out and then down. So you have some depth here. You can break it up with, because these are the bangs, you can break it up a little bit because we're not in the scalp line. I mean, you can break it up here too, but they would still have hair underneath, so, or, you know, or maybe they don't, whatever. What do I know? But either way, they would have shadow. The hedgehog. If you're drawing like long cascading hair, like let's say, you know, they have a middle part and it's going down around their face, your hair grows further back. So if you look at the side of my head, sorry, I have to go this way because my hair is parted to the side. If you look this way, it still goes back because a lot of the time I do tuck my hair behind my ear. So there is this curve naturally. But even if I go, and my hair is pin straight. So it's naturally pin straight. Can't make it do anything else for the life of me. You see this? This is all because I tuck it behind my ear. But you can still see part of my hair because the hair is growing back here. And my hair my face sticks out further than where my hair is growing. So if I were to draw like my hair, which desperately needs a haircut, you can see part of it coming out. And then it has, even if it didn't have a flow, it would still have a little bit. You see? Because you have these planes of the face. This part, this front part, sticks out further. Like, even if you were to go straight down from your hairline, see? Your face would still stick out. Does that answer the question, or is there like a more specific case that you are thinking of that would cover it? If you had like a longer at the top hair, and again, maybe it's tucked behind the ear, maybe there's a part that got loose. But like your face would stick out. Very chunky hair, or very chunky Okay. Very helpful, but specifically I draw anime chunky hair a lot, and they got big shapes that sometimes cover weird parts, and I just get lost. Okay, can you give me an example of a character by any chance? Because then maybe we could break it down. Break it down now, y'all. 2 hops this time. Because remember, it's also art. You can cheat. Depending. I have no idea who this character is, but I'm gonna look it up. What? I see. I see. Okay. I see who you're talking about. Is it this little, is this little blonde fella with the headphones? Do I sound enough like a... like your dad who doesn't know what the fuck you're talking about? Just confirming it's this character, right? Just confirming before I break this character down. Not mentally, but like construction-wise. Okay, cool. Okay, so we can look at what, like, in looking at the hair that we have and in the breakdowns of the hair that we've done, we can kind of see how the sections work on this character, right? So you have, and the headphones are doing a good job of it too. You have this section. Okay, let's let's make this character bald. Oh my gosh, I gave them like an alien shaped head for a second. Okay. So the hairline is probably here, right? When in doubt, break it down. Okay? So we have this section, we have the front section here, and we got, there's like this here, which kind of implies that sort of like the hair swirl is there, you know, like this part, because that's wherever your part is, that's where like the baby hairs grow, and that's what this like shortcut is, right? And then we have, so we have section 1, 2, 3. So in looking at this hair, you can see that the hair is either getting stuck like under the headphones and then is like coming up, right? And then it's just like they have longer hair, but it's still parted here, let's say. The part's not shown. So if we were to break it down using these sections that I've done, you could probably imply that because this is at the front, it's coming down like this, right? This is like a little baby hair that's kind of longer. And I'm not an expert at this character. These are just guesses that I'm taking, right? So if I were to draw this character from the side, I'm not good at drawing anime, and I apologize ahead of time. Headphone. Little nose. Oh, that's a little nose. It's also hard because, like, because this is an art style, each artist, like, shortcuts things differently. Wow, I made the chin way too freaking big. So it's like up to the ultimately the artist on how they think that this hair works, or how they intended this hair to work, I should say. So, you know what? Let me draw the headphone strap. So we know the headphone strap usually goes around the middle of the head. So let's do that. So then we know that, okay. Basic hairline principle, right? Let's say that that's where the hairline is. So let's say we're going to do some pushing and pulling. This is like up a little bit. Actually, let's start with that. Right? So now you were asking specifically about the bangs. Because they're going out, I would go with that as well, because we're following the feeling or the vibe or the, like, it doesn't have to be literal about the hair, right? And then this, so if this is like the center of the head, this is to the side. So we can probably imply this shape, right? And then this is going around to the back, and we can't see the back. But again, I would cheat it and sort of imply it, right? Because you can see these shapes here too. This is definitely out in front. And you have to think about it going back in the distance. So it's going to get smaller. So you can add some foreshortening. Again, I had to try really hard not to say foreshortening. Jacob and Nathan have put that in my brain. You know what? I kind of like having that other bigger shape here. Oops. Does that make any sense, what I'm saying? Like, we want to cheat so that people know, and then, you know, still got some longer hair, so. So you see, like, it still looks like him, and it looks like his hair. Well, looks like him as much as I ever drew him. Like, it's more important to get the vibe of the hair, the feeling of the character, and the character's facial expressions in this piece than it is to, like, have an accurate representation of the hair, unless you're building like a 3D model of this character and you need it for a printer or something, you know. In which case, good luck. It's hard to do with someone else's style, because you can't be 100% sure on their intentions or whatever. But that would be my guess. You know, if you wanted to, even you could put, you could put some like back here or something, but that's my thought. It is hard to do, but that's kind of my feeling, is that it doesn't have to be 100% accurate. You have to, like, what's more important is facial expression. Also, I don't know, put him in a wind tunnel. Have that hair blowing a little bit. Cheat it. Does anyone else have any other questions? We're at the end of class, but I just wanted to, and I'm sorry I had so many like photo examples and things like that, but I thought it would be good practice. And I really just want people to look at reference. When in doubt, if you don't know how to draw something, you can look at how other people have stylized something, but take that as like, I see how they did it, now I want to figure out how I do it. Because most likely those people that did the shortcut already used reference and then like internalized how that thing works. And then it made sense to them looking from the reference. And then when you're 2 degrees away from that, something gets lost and then there's some missing details. But I really encourage everyone to look at reference when in doubt, as always in art. So, hair is no exception. Does that make sense? Any other questions? Are we good? I hope this was helpful to everyone. I appreciate everyone being here. Thanks for being a patron. Thanks for being part of this draw class. Appreciate you. I hope you have a good Friday. That's it, I guess. Cool. Thank you for the compliments on someone's first ever draw class live. I'm glad that it was good for you. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm getting lots of thank yous in chat right now. So, yeah. Thanks again. Thanks for being here. And have a great weekend, everybody. Goodbye.